Welcome, everybody, to Pitch Strike Chronicles podcast. I am Tats, and you are watching us on Northeast Streaming Sports on Roku, Northeast Streaming Sports on Facebook, and our YouTube channel. Hope you all are having a good day. Hope you all enjoyed the All-Star festivities yesterday and the game itself. It was an interesting game. It's 3-2. The one thing that I was really happy to see is that the Yankees had a very shining moment. Stanton with the MVP. We'll get into that. Holmes and Nestor Cortez had their outing. Judge 0 for 2 with 2 strikeouts. It is what it is. It's just, judge is judge. I'm not worried about it. But the thing about the All-Star break is you're watching it was a close game. And all I kept thinking of throughout the whole thing was don't let it end in a tie. Don't let it end in a tie. I did not want to see how Rob Manfred has just continued to ruin this game or attempt to ruin it by making up gimmicks. This is a competitive sport. It is not a gimmick. It's not a sideshow. Play the game the way the game is meant to be played. All right. It's bad enough that we have the runner on second in extra innings. I'll be so happy when that's gone next year. I can't believe the players even wanted that again. But that's not how you that's not how you play. You train for a game a certain way, and when you get these situations where they want to make it into something that it's not, because they think it's going to be more entertaining. And yes, professional sports can be entertaining. It can be, but it's also a competition, and you don't want to make a competition into, turn it into a gimmick. It defeats the purpose of it. So I did not want to see any home run derby to decide what was going to happen, who was going to win, whether it was the National League or the American League. We already had the home run derby the night before. We didn't need it again. It's too much. You're flooding us with these dumb ideas, and it really makes us question what your intention, what your motivations are as a commissioner, and why you insist on trying to keep reinventing the wheel that is perfectly aligned. There's no need for it. And there was no reason to introduce having a home run derby to decide a game. Donald, how are you this morning? So, Judge ended Stanton, ended up with the MVP. Trevino had a hit in the All-Star game. Cortez pitched an inning, a little bit of traffic, but he got himself out of it. And Holmes had he was in there for a couple of batters. And Donald, before we really get into how the Yankees did, I was just talking about how our wonderful commissioner, the man of the hour, tried turning the end of the All-Star game into yet another gimmick with the home run derby deciding it.
Yeah, that is a weird one. But, I mean, I don't want it to overshadow what's been a positive All-Star break for baseball. I think it was everything that you could want it to be. The home run derby was a lot of fun. I particularly enjoyed that, and then of course it was a tight game with the All-Star game itself, and Stanton got a home run.
Yeah, and Stanton's home run earned him the MVP. Mm-hmm. And what I thought was what made the home run and the MVP even sweeter are the amount of our own fans that think that Stanton is kind of ruining, the chances of the Yankees being competitive in the trade deadline because of the salary that he has, which when you look at the way that all these power hitters and faces of the game are being paid, Stanton's salary is on the low end at this point.
It is.
So I think that bringing up his salary is a useless point at this, in this juncture of the way that baseball salaries are being handed out.
100%. You're definitely. It's quite a reasonable contract. Where have you come across this sentiment?
You see, a lot of it on talk radio, social media, and well, if we didn't have Stanton, we could have gotten this, or we could have gotten, it's not just Stanton. I would actually argue more that the contract argument needs to be shifted more to Donaldson rather than Stanton. Because as you and Rob made it very clear on yesterday's show, his salary is what stopped us from. We could have gotten Trevino, to play third base if we were still able to make the deal without Donaldson.
Trevino? Do you mean Urshela?
Falefa. Sorry.
Falefa, right? Okay.
He could have played third base, and we could have used that money that we're now stuck with paying Donaldson to show up every one series a month. We could have used that to sign a short-term solution for shortstop with more of a track record.
Like Carlos Correa?
Well, they were never going to go. I don't think they ever had Carlos Correa in mind because they were all in on Volpe. So I think that was made very clear. And I don't want to really keep going too far backwards into the season. But the salary argument, I think it needs to fall more on Donaldson now and leave Stanton alone.
Definitely.
So I think that narrative is.
If Aaron Judge wasn't having such a historic year, then I think Stanton would be getting serious praise for being the MVP of the team because he's been next in line, man. He's been incredible.
Yep. So, but the Yankees, we had 6 Yankees in the All-Star game. Yeah, I think that was the most of any team that was there. And I think it just really highlighted even more on a national level because baseball is very much a regional sport. We all accept that. But it put a national spotlight on how well this team is doing this year and how they are just really as much as they want to win, they're also having fun and they're remembering, it really goes right back to the basics that baseball is a game and games are meant to be fun. So I think that's why the All-Star game, as much as people want to say it's just an exhibition game. Yeah, it's a game. These guys are highly competitive. There's no weight in the All-Star game anymore. With when Bud Selig had it determining who hosted the 7th game of the World Series, who had the home field. Now that that's gone, I think that now it's just a chance for these players to, kind of step back a little bit and just have fun. And I think you saw that throughout the whole league on both sides yesterday. Mm-hmm. They were especially, and I like the mic that they mic up the players.
Yeah, actually, it was better this time around. The mic'd up players. It was a lot of fun, actually. There's some good banter between Judge and Stanton, and there was some nice moments there. It was a good touch. It was a good effort for the game yesterday, I thought. If you listen to John Smoltz, you would never guess that the Yankees were a really good team. He hates the Yankees.
Well, you're gonna have those broadcasters that just don't like to give the Yankees credit. It is, it's what, it's be jealous. I don't care. Our team's on top, and just deal with it. Even if the Yankees have their work, even if the second half just goes completely off the rails and we go 500, that's still 98 wins. So, live with it. The Yankees are the top dogs in baseball right now. So there's nothing anybody could do about that. So let the announcers hate all they want. I was listening to part of it due to my work schedule through the MLB app on the audio. So from where I was listening to the announcers, and I apologize, I can't remember the names right now, but they were actually very complimentary of the Yankee season. And it was they were talking specifically when Cortez was pitching and how he was just this bright light in a big question mark when the year started.
It's true.
And I thought that they were in love with him because they said he's just an old school throwback pitcher because he'll get you with movement, not velocity.
Mm-hmm. That's
And
right.
I think when anybody can throw a baseball to a catcher, but can you pitch it? Nestor Cortez could pitch. And that was something that they kept highlighting throughout his inning. And I thought that was a great compliment to Cortez. What I know he gave up the walk to Alonso. I really wanted him to strike out Alonso. I really did. Just for that, subway rivalry.
Well, no, also because he's also an a-hole. I cannot stand the polar bear. Oh, that dancing idiot.
No, you know what? Let's shift real quick because with Alonso and his obsession with the home run derby.
Oh,
And I was so happy when he got knocked out.
me too.
I'm like, it didn't matter who won. The Bat Boy could have won the home run derby as long as it wasn't Alonso.
Exactly.
But it's because that's all that the Mets. If that's his motivation to show off his skills, and that's his, that's what he thinks is he has to do. I don't think you should be wanting to make sure that you perform also in the postseason and put up the numbers that get your team to the postseason. Don't worry about the home run derby. That's a minute.
Stanton and Judge didn't even take part.
No, I really, and we said we wanted Stanton to do it.
Yeah,
but
could you imagine what one of them would have done? Either or both of them would have done in the home run derby. Oh my god!
Yeah, because they're really none of actually the one person that really the one player that stood out in the derby was Rodriguez.
Rodriguez is incredible.
That was
incredible.
What a rookie show. And I'm not just because I'm a Yankee fan, but I don't think I've seen a rookie have a round that entertaining since Judge.
His first two rounds were fantastic. I think there's an issue with the format of the home run derby because Rodriguez hit, was it 64 home runs in the first first two rounds?
Yeah, somewhere around there.
Right. And Soto was barely scraping by with like a couple of 18s, so he was in the 36 range by the time he made it to the final. I think that it was clear that by the time that you got to the final that Rodriguez was exhausted.
Yeah,
because it takes a lot out of you. I think they need to amend the format because at the end of the day, Rodriguez hit like 20 more home runs in total than Soto did. But Soto won the derby. I think that they could maybe amend the format so that they're not completely exhausted by the time you get to the final. Instead of maybe 3 minutes, you make it 2 minutes. And you take it from there.
Yeah. Or do it the other way. Or do it the other way around. Have the first round, for 2 minutes. The second round, maybe 3 minutes.
Yeah.
And the final round, I would actually have it at 4 minutes with 2 30-second breaks.
Yeah, the bonus
different, but not completely realign the whole thing.
The bonus 30 seconds or a minute is partly an issue too. I wonder if they really need to do that. Like if you hit it over, say 450 feet, just give them an extra home run or something like that. Rather than that extra minute, I just think it exhausts them. You can
Well,
have the extra.
I just thought of an idea because I don't know how this would work because of the bonus. If you're going first, you don't need the bonus. I think the bonus should be for if
It's tie.
it, not that it's tied, if you're within one home run at the end of your minute,
Mm-hmm.
then you get your 30, you get a 30-second bonus.
So after the matchup's finished with the other, with your competitor.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was thinking
So
that too.
say Soto hits 18 and Rodriguez, for argument's sake, because we brought up those two guys, say for argument's sake, it was those two, and Rodriguez went second and ended up with 17.
But still had that bonus
and he
30.
earned the bonus because of the length that he hit, a home run.
Mm-hmm.
He gets the 30 seconds to try to get those other two home runs.
That's a good point. That would make a lot of sense. I do think that adding that extra bonus time as well as your allotted time will further exhaust you. Maybe that bonus time should be after the matchup, and you take it from there. From the deficit, as you say, if you're one down or whatever like that, and then you take that bonus opportunity to try to win it. I think they need to do better with that because maybe that would mean that if they address the format, it might be a better chance of getting real home run hitters like Judge and Stanton, etc., to take part in next year's Derby. Because at the moment, I think a lot of it is down to the fact that they tire themselves out prior to the second half of the year, and it's not worth it. But I love the home run derby. I'm a big fan of it. In fact, I prefer it to the actual All-Star game itself these days.
Yeah,
it's more fun. But I think the format needs to be amended because it reminds me of the polar bear versus Vlad Guerrero Jr. a couple of years ago.
Yep.
Vlad Guerrero Jr. did the same thing as Rodriguez, where he hit 1 million home runs in the first 2 rounds, and was probably tiring out by the time he faced off with Alonso, and Alonso luckily won with a lot less home runs than Guerrero did. I believe that was a first matchup a couple of years ago. So yeah,
well, those two were in the finals together, I believe.
They were, yeah.
But it also that's the downfall of hitting first. Because you don't know what the guy behind you is going to do. So you have to keep hitting them. You want to put up as many as you can. If you could do it, so could the guy behind you. So that's where it gets a little tricky. Where how do you hold back? You don't want to get knocked out of the competition because, well, I hit 20, that should be enough.
Alonso was hilarious. He just literally lives for that one competition. It's like this is his only motivation. You see him in the, he's like, he's getting ready to provide the. You see them off camera, and he's like, he's closing his eyes. He's meditating, and
he's just a really great ball player. Weird guy.
He is weird. I mean, all this just for a bit of fun. It's like his only trophy that he could possibly ever win. So he's, and then I can't forget about last year where he was dancing and celebrating when and while there's a kid that tore his ACL. Remember, and he got carted off.
Yeah. No, that was a really bad image for him.
It was. Dancing,
I really believe we tore him apart on our show.
We did. I'll never forgive him for gyrating his crotch after winning, and last year was it last year? Yeah, it was last year, and beating a guy who recovered from cancer. I took the spectacle completely off the fact that someone recovered from a serious illness, made it to the All-Star game, then had an awesome all-star home run derby that got him to the final, and then Alonso had to just kind of rub it in his face that
Yeah.
that he won.
I understand. Well, I understand that they don't want to keep putting the camera on the kid. He's been through enough. He doesn't need it, on video to be shown over and over again. So I respect the camera crews for not really going too in depth in recording that. But they didn't have to put the camera on Alonso either.
Just to watch him.
Wait a minute, we didn't want to see that.
Just
But
good
anyway,
advertising.
The American League won their 9th straight All-Star game. Is it because what do you think is the biggest attribute to the American League that they keep coming out on top of these games?
I mean, it's hard to say. I just think that traditionally the American League has always been deeper. It's only recently that the National League have certainly improved in that aspect. There's a lot more competitive teams in the National League, but traditionally the American League has always been the top-heavy league. I think that's probably why, in many respects.
Because what I find strange, entertainingly strange, is the fact that the American League, comes out on top of these All-Star games, and there's a player from every team that represents in the All-Star game. They might not all get into a game, but every team gets a player that they get to send. And the fact that you pretty much have had the same, 3-4 teams out of the 15 in the postseason, that are serious postseason contenders. They're not just getting in because of happenstance with record. It's usually been, you got the Red Sox, the Yankees, the Astros, maybe some other team that's just having a good year, Cleveland or Minnesota. But the other players on the other teams are the ones that sometimes are are more of a contributor in the All-Star game. Is the talent spread out enough, or is it just just happenstance that the American League is just that much more dominant?
Well, I just believe that traditionally the American League has been a little deeper, but although the National League is top heavy with the Dodgers and the Braves, etc. American League, you traditionally have a bunch of competitive teams like the Yankees, the Astros, the Red Sox. You go right down. This is the Jays, and then you got the Mariners, and you got a bunch of good teams in the American League. I think that I'm just saying traditionally because it's not necessarily the case this year. National League is pretty deep this year. It's a pretty open field apart after the Dodgers. So I'm not quite sure, man. There's talent in both leagues. It certainly helps for the National League that they got the DH. So it'll certainly help teams put together more power numbers. In fact, they don't have a pitcher every number 9 spot. So yeah, I don't know, man. It's hard to discuss.
Yeah, it's hard to get into a deep analysis of it because it is a very general and basic take on it, and a question. It's just something that always sits in my head. I'm like, the talent has been, I talked about, even before we started these shows and when we started the podcast, that I actually liked that a lot of these teams were locking up their younger players to keep the top talents spread out to to grow the game rather than Manfred gimmicks. But
more pertinently, before we go, more pertinently, did you have any concerns about what Aaron Judge said to the little kid that would indicate that Judge might not be here next year?
No, I don't think that was the I didn't really put anything into it. I did listen back to to the interview. I did listen to it.
Mm-hmm.
Normally, I don't pay any mind to any of that because they're asking questions and the same question 15 million different ways to see if they can get a different answer out of them, and they got him this time. But I don't think that I don't think there was any indication that he has no interest in being here next year. He's I think he's just tired of the question. And that was bad reporting on Marley Rivera's part. Even to say on camera, no, I'm putting him on the spot. Well, why? Why? There was no need for it. Ask him how, leave the contract stuff out of it for a day. Let the guy enjoy the All-Star break and the game and the festivities. It's bad enough he got caught partying with Harden.
That's true.
Now you're going to try to embarrass him and ask him stupid questions? Come on now.
I'm no fan of Marley Rivera, but she had to do her job. I mean, that's what journalists are paid to do. Should she have done it after the game itself? Yeah. I mean,
but you can't go one day without asking that question.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
There was nothing else in the world you could have asked them.
You could have done it at other points rather than during the kind of festivities. But the answer itself, I mean, he might be playing hardball a little bit because he might be.
Well, yeah,
kind of putting the ball in the Yankees' court a little bit.
Well, it doesn't matter what they give me. I'll always be a Yankee. No, that serves him no purpose.
Mm-hmm. It was just the word choice that he used where he's like, well, there's a lot of Yankees, a lot of great Yankees. No, he was almost talking like he was in the past tense. And then he's like, I hope you'll always be a Judge fan. And there wasn't any mention of the fact that, I'll do all I can, or I'm really hoping that we can get there.
That was Judge being Judge. And when it comes to 98% of the time with Judge in front of the camera, he's very Jeter-esque, where he will deflect everything to his teammates. And I just think that's what he was doing. I don't think it was saying,
but the difference is Jeter would have.
You still have other people to listen, to watch.
But here's the difference, though. Derek Jeter would have said how much he loves the Yankees and how he always dreams of being a Yankee.
No, and
Judge
has said that multiple times. It's not that he's never said those words.
No, it's just during that interview. Yeah, he talked in the past tense. I'm not criticizing Judge. Pay the man. It's kind of ridiculous that we're at this juncture where he's not paid, but I was a little concerned by the answer. It was, I think in the past he's always a little bit more forthcoming with how much he desires to be a Yankee. Kind of talked in the past tense, especially when it's around a kid. It was, but that was also Marley Rivera's fault because it really is.
That's why I'm not putting, I don't want to read too much into Judge's reaction.
Yeah, you shouldn't do that to a kid.
There was no way he could answer that question properly.
You shouldn't do that to a kid either.
No.
Putting Judge on the spot like that around a kid who's a big Judge fan, it is shameless reporting. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, I'm no fan of Marley Rivera at all for that, or in general.
No. But I think that it's one of those. The questions are going to be coming on rapid fire, especially as the second half gets underway. And there's just no end in sight. And what is coming to an end is today's show. But tomorrow,
nice segue.
Rob will be back, and we promise we will be getting into our debate on the whole Juan Soto fiasco and what our expectations are, what we think is going to happen, what we want to happen. We will be getting into that when it is the three of us, because I think that would make it a really solid debate for everybody to enjoy. So you have been watching the Pinstripe Chronicles on Northeast Streaming Sports on Roku, on Facebook, and YouTube. Wear your pinstripes of pride and play hard.